Welcome back to Open Source. I'm here with Dini Petty. I'm learning a lot, as I'm sure you are. Let's talk about tech, but not in a like describe a computer in
Yeah.
detail. Like it's interesting to me because we take someone like you with so much experience, and you can't just, especially as I do this job, like a fraction of the experience that you have, and I'm like, it's not an easy job. And so for you to do it for decades, you're constantly adapting, you're constantly pivoting. Like, how were you able to just stay relevant for so long?
It's such a good question. How am I able? I'm a curiosity. That's how I started. I mean, I was the girl in the pink helicopter. I don't know. I mean, I did To Tell the Truth, What's My Line? I was in all these shows because I was a curiosity. And that curiosity has always stayed. When I went into television, I was one of the first women to anchor the news because women did not anchor the news. They just can't do it. That's impossible. So again, I was a curiosity. Um, and the show worked, the Dini Petty show worked because I am a very curious child. I got thrown at a very high school I went to for talking.
Hmm.
No one mentioned it could be a career move.
Right.
And in fact, on my 50th birthday, North Toronto Collegiate that threw me out, sent somebody down to say, "You're one of our star graduates. And they're doing this on camera. And we brought you this to say thank you." And I said, "Guys, you threw me out." And I looked at the camera and said, "See, boys and girls, if you get thrown out of high school and you end up with your own talk show, they'll come and kiss your butt too." Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, first of all, you're hilarious. But like, second of all, it is interesting that there's especially like in person, we're in person, right? It's usually the guests are over Zoom, and you get a lot in person. Um, there's this natural joie de vivre that you have that
Ah,
I wonder if that is part of the secret, because people are so freaked out by tech, but you're just kind of like being Dini, whatever the sort of way to be Dini is.
one of my secrets, and you touched on it, if left alone and by myself, I'm a happy person. I just naturally am. And I've always been that way. I like being alone. In fact, for the first time in my life, I wake up and you'll hear me say in my apartment, "I'm so happy I live alone. No cats, no dogs, no men, no kids. Freedom, finally." And I love it.
Mm.
But I have that. And that's a gift I have from the universe. I
Mhm.
don't know.
It's funny, right? Because a lot of younger people, you hear it all the time, and I've experienced it, right? Because they're so used to communicating through technology,
Right.
they have difficulty communicating in person, right? Do you think that
Huh.
because you've kind of grown up before all of this tech, you're able to use the tech as tools? You don't look at it as like endemic to the dynamic. It's a way to further the dynamic, but it doesn't replace the connection.
It's an interesting question. I find Zoom a fabulous form of communication.
Mhm.
I think it's wonderful. But to me, it is kind of like, what's the difference between Zoom and in person, except obviously the person's in front of you. But
Right.
at Zoom, you can look at this guy's face or that person's face. You can watch it. It's far more, I was going to say intimate,
Mm.
because when there's a group of us, I can't stare at him when he's talking. Y-
It's
So,
interesting because this curiosity that you talk about,
curiosity.
it's prevalent like now, like it's evolving. Like I see it, right? It's like even the way you approach like Zoom, it's like you're like, oh, how can I use this to talk to
Yeah.
Jorge in Brazil, right?
It's my gift and my curse.
Mm.
And that's how I've ended up in a 9 close calls and a certain death experience. My curiosity has taken me to like, okay, we've made a mistake. We should go back now.
Mhm.
But
No, but at the same time, I mean, you're still going.
I am still
You're
going.
still going at 79 years old, right?
Yeah, January 15th, I
It's
enter my, yeah, 80
incredibly
years.
inspiring.
I hope so. I mean, I take no medication. My secret is I've exercised my whole life. I was a tomboy. And actually, I remember when I went to Park Lawn School, they had the whole school out. I wasn't the last person picked. I was the second last.
Right.
But so I was never good at, I never made the swim team or the diving team. But I've always exercised. And I think that's critical. I've been into alternative health and vitamins since my early 20s. And I'm lucky, genetically lucky, no medication. And, like I keep saying, my mental thing is, it's almost perfect.
Look, maybe they didn't pick you for team sports, but you definitely should have been student council president. If you weren't already, it's amazing. It's must-see TV right now. We've got Dini Petty on Open Source.